Hello everyone. Welcome to the channel. If you are new here, we're so happy to have you. If you're my previous subscribers, welcome back. So today we have a very special guest. We will be interviewing Diego. Diego from what party are you from, Diego? I don't remember.
Project Dignity.
Right. Thank you for that. And we also have other reporter, TNN reporter Owen Haley. Owen Haley, would you like to say something?
Hi, people. It's Owen again for like the multiple
Why do you
time.
say people? That's like weird, but
I don't
okay.
know.
Yeah, I don't know. You're a weird person anyway. No shame in that, though, right?
Hey. Okay, but
Okay, first question up, Diego. What is your party's platform? Would you like to tell us?
Okay, a good question. This is a new party, and I based it on anti-corruption and conservative values. The reason why I made this party in the first place is because Republicans keep making alt accounts and keep getting like disqualified from elections, basically. So this was gonna damage our base. So I decided to make this party a real party based on integrity and actual tradition with good ethical values. I'm going to support private property, tradition, and family values, and I look forward to working with the other parties to get stuff done in America. So, in conclusion, my platform is based on cooperation, traditional values, and anti corruption.
And so, speaking on corruption, um, actually, we're gonna get back to that in a later time in this video. I think I want to continue forward with the next question because we will touch base back on corruption and your party's platform. So, does your party stand for anything else other than corruption, or is it just only corruption?
It also stands for the traditional values of conservatism.
So are you saying that based on what I'm hearing is that the Republican Party is basically Project Disney without corruption? Is that correct?
Yeah, anti corruption.
Right. And so what would you say to your fellow Republicans who are kind of on the fence of the idea of, switching political parties to support your party in hope that it doesn't end up hurting them come their next election race? How do you provide them with the confidence needed to make that switch?
Okay, I want everyone to imagine you're walking up to the ballot box on like a midterm election. You see two candidates, a Democratic one and a Republican one. The Republican one is led by a woman who has admitted to committing a crime. That's false imprisonment. She locked her husband in the basement and feeds her cat food. That's a crime. He hasn't even been convicted of anything. So obviously they're not going to vote for that party. And keep a reminder, she told us in the last interview that she got 100% approval rating. They don't stand for law and order at all if they would support a woman, the leader of the Republican Party, that commits a crime. I don't know how that make any sense. So people gonna see party as hypocritical and probably one of the reasons why we did so badly in the midterms. I'm going to make a change and put in a party that is actually for law and order and traditional ethical values.
Thank you for that. So the next question we're going to ask, when you're going to say it.
what is your stance on separation of church and state? 6% when polled by TNN say that this issue is an important one.
I've changed on its stance a bit. A few months ago, I used to be anti separation of church and state. Not anymore. I don't believe that religion should be in government anymore. I believe it shouldn't be disrespected, but I think we should have separation of church and state. There's a verse in the Bible that made me realize that.
So, what is your stance on Nancy Reagan using the Bible to justify his belief on climate change and his stance on climate change?
Well, in the Constitution says we have the freedom of religion. I also state my values on the Bible as well, and the founding fathers gave us that right. So I think he has a right to do that.
But you just said on the interview that you believe that there should be a clear separation of church and state. But yet we have a political figure quoting a religious verse. What is your stance on that? Are you considering yourself as a flip flopper?
No, I'm not a flip flopper. I'm just stating what the founding fathers wanted. They didn't include God in their documents, but they wanted us to have religious freedom.
Right. And so if they want to have religious freedom, how can you make the determination that's exactly what the founding fathers wanted when they escaped England from religious persecution? They'll be able to have the ability to had the freedom of religion here in the United States and created that doctrine. Do you think that by people in positions of power that only speak on behalf of the Bible and don't hold any other religious ideology, or even those who identify themselves as atheists, as a potentiality for basically a scenario in which we can have Christian nationalism in the country or extreme religious viewpoint that will toxify the country and the political landscape? What is your opinion on this?
I believe you have the right to be atheist. You could believe in the values you think is correct. That's our constitution. So people also have the right to believe in religion. I don't think there should be like Christian laws like adultery is illegal. I don't think that's a good idea. But people could have the right to believe what they want to believe.
Right, and so are you saying, based on what you just said, that you think that it was right for Nancy Reagan to quote a religious Bible in a political interview? Is that a yes or a no?
I think she had a right to do that, yeah.
Okay, moving on. President Lever was recently injured by an anti-alien group in connection to an assassination plot to blame the alien. What is your response to this issue?
Well, obviously, the aliens have committed first degree attempted murder. They should be tracked down and brought to justice immediately. They shouldn't be given citizenship or even the right to vote in our elections, as polls suggested. So they should be prosecuted for their actions.
Can I interject here? Do you just say aliens, or did you say anti-alien groups?
I'm at the anti alien groups.
Okay. Okay, so you believe that basically what you're saying is that the anti-alien group should be prosecuted for crime committed against the president by forming almost an successful assassination attempt on the president's life, who's currently in critical condition at this moment in time. Um, Acting Vice President Leonard Kim is now the new acting president, and so because of that, um, there has been found to have some sort of strained relationship with the extraterrestrial, with the United States and world as a whole. So the world is watching the United States on a global stage, with the anti-alien group becoming a major issue within the United States and abroad, causing chaos with aliens who come here to be in a peaceful manner. But yet, humans are making it very difficult for that to happen. What protocol would you take if you were the president or were in some form of power that you were able to prevent these anti-alien groups from dominating an intergalactic affair?
The anti aliens committed a crime. They should be prosecuted. But if the aliens did not commit a crime, they should not be prosecuted. That's
Yes.
what I
So
believe.
according to a news report by Owen Haley earlier today, he has reported that the private investigation has shown 5 days later, after the initial attack on the president, that that the aliens were indeed innocent and were actually framed by the anti-alien groups to target and assassinate the president in hope that it caused an all-out war because of some quote-unquote conspiracy theory that they have.
If the anti-aliens truly did not commit a crime and proven they did not commit a crime, then they shouldn't be really persecuted or prosecuted.
Okay. And so, what would you do in a situation where the aliens were falsely accused of assassinating the president with ill attempt by the anti alien group? What would you do to amend the situation to bring back peaceful relations with the extraterrestrials?
I would try to stop the persecution of the aliens. I would try to give them protection or something.
And how would you go about that?
Well, first, I would support using police force to make sure that they don't get attacked. I will
Okay.
also send I will also send out a public announcement.
Right. Well, thank you for that. So, we're going to move on to the next question. Vice President Leonard Kim has assumed the role of, quote, acting president. How do you think he is performing based on the events that occurred so far, despite the fact that he is widely disapproved of by 31%?
Hold on.
Pardon? Diego?
All right, I'm back. So, I don't really agree with his policies at all, but I think he's handling the situation okay.
Okay. And so, does
He's
that
doing a
change
smooth
your
job.
stance or view on the vice president?
I don't really agree with his policies at all. I even voted disapprove on his poll.
Would you like to expand upon that? Why you disapprove of the vice?
Well, first of all, he wants to defund our military to provide financial aid to college students. If you plan to
That's
go
a
to
weird thing to.
college,
I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of weird. Yeah, that's kind of like a weird. That's a very bad policy. I don't really understand that how that logic would
yeah,
play out because that would kind of leave people vulnerable, like a nation very vulnerable at that point. But again, this is not my interview. It's not right for TNN to make any sort of opinions here. So we will subject back to you. Go ahead.
Leonard Kim is obviously a pro-Palestinian, and basically he wants for
Right. And so Owen has the most recent polling data from TNN on Vice President
I'll be
Leonard.
back. Hold on, I need to reconnect.
Would you like to say that, Owen? Would you like to tell us what that rating is?
Okay, so basically the newest poll that is still happening, so it can change. But Leo approval rating is 43 and the disapproval
Okay,
is 48 and it's
so
closing up.
Hold on, don't
what I
interrupt.
was saying is that Hamas is a terrorist group, and he wants Palestine to become an individual, independent country run by that group. I'm not saying he intentionally wanted a terrorist group, but he's not really smart about the situation.
Right. So, Owen, back to you.
Okay. So the newest poll that is still happening, the approval of Vice President Kim, he is at 43% to disapproval of 48 and undecided of 9%. 10 people approve of Leo and only 11 people disapprove, meaning it's one person could kind of decides the approval rating of Leo
Why do you
right
think that
now.
his approval rating shot up all of a sudden?
Maybe because I think he's handled the current situation smoothly, and people might have voted approve because of it.
Right, and you think that that might help him in his big win tonight in the New York primary?
Probably not. Probably yes. I don't know. It's a close. Republicans have been voting Leonard King in open primaries because
Right,
of
and
his
so if you were a
strategic.
Democrat, would you want them to vote for you?
Not really.
Or why not?
Well, it's kind of.
And you said
It's
that you
basically
wanted a
representing they're not
bipartisan
really
president
voting
who would
because
reach
of.
across the aisle. How do you plan to be bipartisan if, just say, in a hypothetical scenario, you were a Democrat and you just said that you would not want any Republicans backing you? What did that mean to the bipartisanship?
Hold on. My bad. I didn't mean it. It's the Wi-Fi. I didn't really hear your question.
But we're going to move on to the next question. Okay, so we are going to move on to the next question. Because you were busy and you were not able to get to your question, we will be moving on to the next question. Unfortunately,
All right.
my apologies. So there was recent speculation of you being a possible terrorist. However, inside intelligence is proving you to be innocent. With that said, there are some who believe you are still not innocent. What do you say to those people?
I have no idea who thinks I'm a terrorist. I've never heard that until now. I thought it was just a joke. I didn't really think people were calling me that. They have no proof that I'm a terrorist. I haven't even been outside the country until now.
Well, they did say you left the service for quite a while, then you suddenly appeared back in the United States, so that could be some sort of correlation to why they believe that you are a terrorist because of your beard and the way you look and how you hide your eyes behind the glasses and the clothing you wear, which is all black.
Well, it's just a cool look I went for. I'm not really trying to go for a terrorist look.
Right. Okay. So moving on to the next question. Owen, do you have any questions you'd like to say to this topic?
No.
Like always. Okay. You attempted to run for president on the Republican Party side back in 2020 and 2024, but failed to do so twice. You decided to launch an independent bid in 2028, but backed out before any major race was called. What is your opinion on this, or what's your response?
Well, the 2028 one was a bit kind of like a joke, or like just tried to fire up the server. That wasn't really any of my opinions.
Wait, so were you saying that
Any of my,
both 2020 and 2024, when you ran, it was a joke?
no, I'm talking about 2028.
Okay, so why do you decide to even run? Did you just backed out because you didn't believe in your campaign's ability to win?
Yeah, but in 2024 we're more strategic in helping the eventual
Right. So what made you give up
candidate
on even
trying to
running? Like,
win,
so speaking on that, let's touch
or
more
like
on
a
this topic here.
union
You said that
thing.
you basically gave up and you felt like your campaign was a joke because that's what you intended it to be. How can someone take your campaign seriously if you consider yourself to be a joke?
Well, I wasn't really trying to run a serious campaign in 2028,
Okay. I did not understand
so I
any word.
didn't do.
What? You need to speak a
It
little
was more of a
louder.
fun thing. it was like a fun thing to do. I
Right.
wasn't really trying to. This is a fun server.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really like a mock of.
So, you were behind the creation of the American Solidarity Party back in 2026 and was expected to gain more than 15 House seats with 5.76% of the popular vote. However, you abandoned it to rejoin the Republican Party. However, that party was dissolved pretty early on in the election cycle. Had the American Solidarity Party stayed on, it would have been very close to winning roughly around 70 House seats if it stayed on. However, you dropped out and dissolved the Republican. Excuse me. You dissolved the American Solidarity Party in hope to regain back some support in the Republican Party. However, you still decided to back out of the Republican Party later in 2028. So, what is your opinion on this and your response? Even though you decided to go back to the Republican Party, which you repeatedly said was corrupt and was so filled with corruption around this time, replacing a multi-currency chairman and chairwoman, along with the fact that multiple candidates from the Republican Party's ticket being disqualified, and yet you still made the decision to dissolve the American Solidarity Party in hopes to regain back some support from the Republicans. What is your opinion on this? You went on to lose a House race, I mean a Senate race in 2026. Anyway,
Well, the Republicans wanted me to unite their party under the conservative bloc. I didn't really, I was skeptical at first because their past issues, but I decided to unite so we could have a better base. But then they decided to oust the only people that did not create an alt account. So I just feel like, hey, what am I even doing back here if I'm just going to relive the same party that's going back to the same old corrupt leadership?
and with you trying to recreate that conservative bloc, that clearly showed that you know it actually affected the Republicans in the midterm. They won back no seats that the American Solidarity Party carried, but yet you abandoned that party in hope to regain and help the party get rid of corruption. But corruption bleeds red in the Republican Party. There's no way of getting out of or getting rid of that corruption. If now Republicans have gotten very smart, at least some of those who have committed crimes against the United States democracy have gotten really smart at hiding their corruption. What is your plan to expose that, if there any?
Well, they kind of already exposed themselves by electing a chairman who has locked their husbands in the basement. There's not really much effort need to be put into that.
Right. Owen, you would like to talk? So go ahead.
Yeah, and you. So, Diego, you said, oh, you left about other reasons, but actually know why did you actually leave? Because you actually made when I was in the Republican Party. You did a poll that said, should I run as a third party? Basically saying, should I basically not run as a Republican and basically leaving the party as an independent, basically doing that. And the poll got 100% because people was just really not caring if you went or not. So, that was actually what happened, and you could tell any Republicans at the time because I was there and I remember.
But I encourage people to do what they think is best for them. If you actually want to run under a third party, I think you should run in a third party. It's not really my place where to say that. I believe that we all have goals in life.
Right. And how can someone support your future third party candidacy when every time you announce that you're running as a third party, you abandon that third party to go back to the Republicans repeatedly? How can someone consider your candidacy to be a serious one rather than a joke?
I think you cut out.
Thank you for telling me. So, based on what I said, I basically said is how can someone take your candidacy seriously when Republicans, on a repeated basis, and no, excuse me. What I meant to say was you ran third party multiple times, right? How can someone say that they can support you for a second or third time as an independent when every time you ran, you abandoned that party in hopes to somehow win as a Republican? Neither way, you had never been able to stay truthful to who and what you're running as. The only time you ever successfully ran and stayed through an entire campaign was back in 2020 when you ran as a third party candidate after being a failed Republican candidate back in 2020. However, you have never officially went through with your plan to be official third party candidate with actual serious tendencies to create some sort of spoiler effect or even win the White House. But it has come obviously and very clear that every time you run as a third party, you always go back to the Republican. How can someone support your future candidacy and your party Project Disney as a possible third party alternative if they fear that if they support you, that you'll abandon them anyway?
I already told Leo that I'm never going back to that party. I'm going to stay truthful to this one. I pledge if I ever abandon this, I would never run in another election again. I'm going to stay loyal to this one. It was just a crazy time.
Okay. And so, are you okay with other Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Green Party, Libertarian, and staff members in the server to hold you to this?
What?
Do you want others to hold you accountable for what you just said?
Yes.
Okay. Granted. We're moving on to the next question. Why did you choose to abandon American Solidarity when it gained large portion of the popular vote before it was abandoned? Why did you choose not to go back to that party instead of decided to go with Project Dignity?
Well, people told me and tried to convince me that I should return so I wouldn't really split the vote. And another reason why I decided not to go back to that party is I think it was too economically progressive. It was the main party, the real party, was practically democratic socialism, which I don't really agree with.
Right. And so you just mentioned on the interview that others have told you to come back to the Republican Party and hope that it didn't split the party. However, it has split the party regardless. The Republican turnout and the Republican wave was not there in 2026. If anything, it was gone. Like it never even manifested. The Democrats swept all Senate seats, gaining 55 to 45, swept the entire House race, gaining exactly 218 House of Representative seats with a clear majority there. Then, with all the caucusing with the other parties, they gained 283 House seats to the Republicans, I think 155 House seats. Right? Not only that, the Democrats also swept majority of the governorships, only losing Michigan's governorship and California's governorship, which in turn, the governor in California, who was elected as a Republican, has ended up switching over to the Democratic Party side anyway. So, what did you say to any of this?
Well, I trusted, well, I at least hoped that the results would be better than 2020. Unfortunately, that didn't really happen. Split or not, it was all about what was going on in the party.
Right. And do you think that the corruption was the main reason and the downfall of the Republican Party turnout and inability to win in the 2026 midterms?
Well, if someone is basically, let's say my ally is like failing, I wouldn't really leave them until they actually did something bad or like did something behind my back I didn't realize they would actually do. They created alt accounts and they told some Republicans even told me to create an alt account. I never did.
So hold on. So are you saying that Republicans in the party were calling for people to make alt accounts?
Yes, I even have proof of that.
Okay. And can you also send it over to TNN? We would like to investigate this further. Can you do that for us, Diego?
Yes, after this interview.
Is
I
there
can't
anyone
really
that
do
you
it
would
right
like to
now.
say on the interview on who also did the talking and who they interacted with, who also made those accounts, and for those who also rejected those attempts to create alt accounts?
Well, it's like Michigan Mike, formerly Dwight, Dwight Eisenhower.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that. This is interesting. This is not what I expected, but thank you for your what's it call it? Your honesty here about corruption. It really helped your case when it comes to your anti-corruption message. Why did you choose to run as Project Dignity? Explain more your party on that. I know you mentioned it earlier, but why Project Dignity? Why do you choose that name, and what does it mean to you as a person?
Well, I didn't really choose the name. The rule is that you had to pick an active party, but the name actually appealed to me because the word dignity means respect and honor. That's what I want America to be, respected and honored. We have a corrupt government system, people making alt accounts, how it's not really getting along with each other. Like when people see American government, they kind of laugh or not really respect it, obviously. So my job is I'm going to make Congress good. I'm going to remove anti. I'm going to remove corrupt people, the government. I'm going to make it do actually some work, handing out laws. Aliva's doing a good job currently. I just want to make sure our government is clean and safe and anti-corrupt. So people, so the government can serve the people, not other businesses.
Thank you for that. Owen, next question.
According from the White House press, you were recently interviewed by the current president for a Supreme Court seat. If chosen, what will you do with your party and will you run for president?
I said in one of the live streams that if Luis Amaya wins in 2032 and decides to run for a second term, I am not going to run. And also for the Supreme Court, I'm trying to make it cooperative, it's common sense, and try not to put much political in it.
Thank you for that. Owen, next question.
Okay. Um. You will also President Oliva, former Republican vice president. He later dropped you because of your inability to seize the moment when the president needed a mental health break. You instead abandoned your role as vice president to assume the role acting president, and instead you chose to change your identity and touted extreme religious viewpoints. Your approval dipped to 31% to 48%. Disapproval. When averaged out, you had a net negative of 13.5 disapproval rating. The president later dropped you because of your poor approval and lackluster role as acting president.
All right. So basically, if you were there at that time, you would understand what was going on. People were rigging, elections were not that safe, and we had a border problem. I actually exposed one of the riggers and stopped the rigging. I spoke with Norwackle and I would tell them who was the one rigging and to stop him from sending forms to that server so we wouldn't get people from other servers to vote in it and not even realize what's going on. So basically, a main person who did not like my vice presidency was Jimmy Carter. He was a good person, and what happened to him was a tragedy. But what happened? He called me a traitor because I decided to be in a unity ticket with a Democratic person. I find it funny that he didn't decide to attack Clark Kent, who was also a Republican, and we had a group chat together. He didn't attack him, but when I became a VP, he decided to attack me, which didn't really make any sense at all. And in the debate, he didn't really answer the questions. He was basically attacking another person. They were going back and forth, and his people decided to vote for him anyway. So basically, what's going on here is just blind devotion. I could say why people voted disapprove. Maybe because I was extreme back then. I decided to be more moderate now and help people out and not really exert my pol- religious values on anyone. But here's the thing. I don't think they realize what I've done for the server. So did I do some questionable things? Yeah, of course. But this disapproval thing doesn't make like the people who voted disapprove weren't really seeing the whole situation out.
Thank you for that. That was very informative. That was very well put. Um, we would also like to know as well when it came to that, what was your viewpoint when the president, according to inside sources, did the president ask you to become the new vice president?
Uh, he told me in a very private conversation that his VP Clark Kent wasn't really active enough, so he wanted me, Republican at the time, to unify the government and asked me to become the VP.
And so, with that unification, do you think it worked? Because it's clear now that the Republican Party had kind of been in disarray, but the country had kind of been more stable ever since, up until this very point. But however, there has been some sort of instability within the Republican Party, but the country has been quite stable. What is your opinion?
Well, the Republican Party now, especially with Jimmy Carter Republicans, they're all about unity until I actually unify with a Democrat. Then they started to attack me.
And so, with that being said, the current incumbent president wants to unify the country and is actively reaching out to Republicans to make sure that their voices are heard, despite the fact that he has a supermajority in the House of Representatives and a clear majority in the U.S. Senate and governorships. However, he's still reaching across that aisle to be able to make policies that help Republicans and also make them feel like that they are represented equally in the White House. However, the Republicans don't seem to share that same sentiment when it comes to their own members leaving the party, or even better yet, creating some sort of unity ticket. What does that mean for the fellow Republicans and whether or not they believe in the idea of creating bipartisanship when necessary?
I believe if a country wants to do good work and send out good laws and actually help its people, they should learn cooperation and work and bipartisanship. So I believe that the unity ticket was a good idea. So I believe the two parties and all parties should have to work together to create a good America.
Right. Thank you for that. So, what is your party's plan to keep the economy moving and growing if your party is serious in holding political office?
I believe that Olive is doing a good job currently. The economy is okay. It has some declines, but it's doing good right now. I don't really plan to make drastic or radical changes to the economy. I wouldn't really cut too much taxes on companies. I would make sure to eliminate loopholes and make sure they actually do legal stuff and actually pay their taxes before cutting their taxes first. I would encourage job creation and make sure citizens do work. And also in schools, make sure they're prepared for jobs. I think that's going to be the best way to improve the economy.
Thank you for that. So, does your party have any plan to create jobs?
Yes, we're going to create jobs.
What kind of jobs?
Anything that goes from infrastructure, agriculture, financial jobs like banks, anything that's going to keep Americans well in the long term. Also, builders, construction builders, we want to create those. We want to create people who build, we want to create road builders so they can fix our roads, make sure our country is looking and nice
Right.
and improved.
Thank you. So we're going to move on to the next question here. Is I know you said this earlier, so you can keep it brief. Is what will you do to stop the war in Palestine and Israel if you win in 2032, assuming the war doesn't end in the next administration term? If assuming you were to run for president.
Okay, here's how I view the situation. Both sides did some bad stuff. Israel is going, I think, in my opinion, reckless. They're attacking the wrong people. Innocent kids are getting murdered, in my opinion. However, Hamas, they're kidnapping people and they're a terrorist organization. So here's what I would do. I'm gonna make sure this recklessness should like stop immediately and make sure we attack the correct people, Hamas. And by that way, we could stop the terrorists, innocent people stop dying, and the war would be resolved.
Okay, thank you. Next question. 48% of Americans believe that Christina Haley is a threat to world peace. What is your response and how do you plan to tackle this? You can make this brief as well.
48%. Okay. I believe 48% is way too low. Alvin and the Chipmunks and Christina Haley attacked many places and assassinated Jimmy Carter and moved to Saudi Arabia. So we don't even know what she's even planning over there. She's a threat to world peace, I believe, and she should be brought to justice. And now she's I heard on the news that she's marrying Saudi prince, and that's going to complicate the situation, obviously. But the number one thing to do here is compromise and cooperate and communicate.
Owen.
What is your opinion on the assassination of former RNC Vice Chairman Jimmy Carter? Suspect Christina Haley has fled the nation and sought citizenship in Saudi Arabia.
I do believe what happened here was domestic terrorism and murder. She committed a crime. She openly admits to committing the crime on X. She literally said that she killed Jimmy Carter, so she's not even a suspect anymore. She should be like brought to justice. She should be prosecuted, and she should receive the highest punishment possible. And as for the citizenship to Saudi Arabia, I'm gonna hope to work with the government there to make sure we see what she really is.
Owen.
Incumbent President Oliva has designated Alvin and the Chipmunks as
Designated.
domestic designated Alvin and the Chipmunks as domestic terrorists due to attacks on JFK Airport, Freedom Tower, and attempts to do the same to Times Square. Your response?
I believe the Chipmunks were accomplices or friends to Christina Haley's crime. Therefore, they should be punished too, and they should rightfully be labeled as domestic terrorists. They attacked an airport, the Freedom Tower, and they tried to do the same to Times Square. This is basically terrorism.
Current Vice President Leonard Kim is extremely unpopular throughout the nation. What would you do if you shared the same popularity as him as you had in the past?
Well, if I'm unpopular like him, I would I would try to prove. I would try to do work, and I will hope to work with the people who disapprove me. I would try to contact them to see what's wrong. I would like to hear their feedback, and I would try to improve myself.
Moving on. Owen.
The Somalia pirates have been attacking U.S. warships and cargo ships. The president has struck a deal with them. However, they recently spotted off the coast of Greece, a NATO ally. Will your administration response be if Greece was attacked and Article 5 of NATO was issued pushing the United States into war? Your response?
I believe that Greece is a good friend. They have good people. They have a good culture, and they're a part of our alliance. What Somalia did is that they attacked our ally. But first, we shouldn't really jump it in too early. We have to tell Somalia to get these people out, or there will be consequences. And if they don't, we're gonna have to push them out ourselves.
Owen.
Who do you believe will be up? You. Who do you believe you will be up against in 2028? Rainbow Dash or VP Leonard Kim?
Well,
I
I'm assuming.
put in the question here. It appears that Owen Haley, when he was typing the question, did not include the fact that he assumed that you were running for president. I just want to interject here that you are not running for president right now. You were running for president, but the question still holds true. Who do you believe will Louis Amaya and James Adele be up again for the Democratic nominee? Rainbow Dash or Leonard Kim?
Okay. Currently, I think there's going to be more close primaries, and this question is going to entirely depend if the next primaries are going to be closed or open. If it's open, the Republicans are going to vote, and we saw in the open primaries, Leonard Kim won. But if there's going to be a lot more close, like we saw the last time, or currently earlier, then Dash is going to win, and Rainbow Dash currently has a lead. So I think Rainbow Dash is going to be the Democratic nominee.
How confident are you in Rainbow Dash's ability to become the presumptive Democratic nominee come Sunday?
I'm pretty confident. Even if she loses the open primary stage, she's still going to get some delegates out of it.
Right. And Owen would like to talk about the New York State primary that was just closed yesterday. Owen?
So basically, New York is really kind of deciding and will help any candidate the next primaries, aka when the results come in, and basically decide who will be the Dem nominee. Leo is from New York. Yes, Teddy is, but Teddy's not even a good campaign. So yes, Leo is from the state of New York, and I think, and most likely, what will happen is Leo wins a lot of the big states because we saw Leo wins a lot of the big economy states like California, Illinois, and New York's up there. So New York would be probably an easy win like California. Plus, Leo does good in like states like Utah, Colorado, and Missouri, and Vermont and New Hampshire. And I think Leo has a chance because of his home state of New York and plenty more.
And so what Owen is trying to say basically is, do you believe that Leonard Kim will carry his home state?
I wouldn't say that her chance or his chances of winning the state are super high. I wouldn't say super low either. I think she has a chance, but I think Dash is going to win New York.
Okay, thank you for that. Moving on. What is your response to high third-party support for candidate James Adele, who has around roughly between 18 to 22% of the popular vote consistently and an expected to gain 3 electoral votes? If no candidate reaches 270 electoral votes to win, what do you think an outcome will look like between, just saying a hypothetical scenario, Rainbow Dash versus Louis Amaya versus James Adele, where James Adele takes 3 electoral lock a Republican and a Democrat in the White House?
All right. This election between these three people, in order for the major parties to win, they need to appeal to the independent voters. Currently, James Adele independent base about like 18 to 22%. I think I don't know how he does it, but he has a strong base.
Do
So
you
what
think
happens
that
here?
sorry, do you think that James Adele even has a strong base based on your standard, or you think that is a high protest bait that is against the two candidates for the top of the ticket? Do you think it's the protest candidate, or do you think it's a strong base that is fully behind James Adele?
Okay, what my official on this is, I don't think they're voting James Adele because he's James Adele. I think they're voting James Adele because he's independent. There's people in the server who do not like either candidates.
Right. And how confident are you in the ability for a third party to win this election? Do you think any president in the future would be part of the independent party and win as independent for the first term that they're elected?
I want to say it's impossible. I think the only way this could happen if both major party candidates are disliked so much that the third party actually gets a win because the rules say that if no candidate reaches 270, then the top two will get into a runoff. And if the independent candidate has so much support, he's in that top two, then the other party is obviously going to vote for the independent.
Right. And so in that scenario, do you think that it's theoretically possible with the amount of third parties that existed in 2020? So we could look at a scenario in which independent could theoretically win by splitting Democratic and Republican support among multiple third parties, making the Republicans and the Democrats simultaneously a third party themselves, with one outlier from the third party candidate at the front runner with a strong base. Do you think that's the only way a third party could win the White House?
I believe they have to have a strong base, and both of the major parties are very disliked. That's how I believe they could actually become the president.
Right. And so in a scenario like this, let's say the incumbent president, Christopher Oliva, decides to run as a third party in order to gain another third term. Do you think that that will work because of his high popularity, that he doesn't need the disapproval from the Democrats and the Republicans to do that? Not saying that he intended to run, but he has told TNN time and time again that he does not plan to run for a third term. However, in a hypothetical scenario, if he was to excuse me, do you think that he can win?
Well, if Oliva were to run again, he would. I don't think he would even be allowed to the Constitution. I don't think Leo would allow it. Basically, even if it was like a third party, he still has to follow the Constitution, in which he can only run for 2 terms.
Yes. But speaking on that more, we're talking about the possibility of just say he was, let's say a candidate is just like Christopher Oliva, but had the same charisma and popularity as him. Do you think that they have a shot?
Yeah,
Right. So it is theoretically possible to do it without disapproval from both parties. Right.
I mean, I guess it's possible.
Moving on to the next question. What is your opinion on President Oliva and Vice President Lamar Kim?
I believe that President Oliva is a good man. He's an accomplished man. He led the economy good. He solved the immigration problem. He sure did some questionable things in office, but overall, I voted approve. And as for Leonard Kim, he's way more he's ru- he's way more radical, and his policies aren't really nonpartisan. He's no way like a moderate, but I do believe that his current situation handling is okay right now. But before that, not really. He's not really trying to work with anyone. So therefore, approve on Oliva and disapprove on Kim is my opinion.
Thank you for that. Owen, do you have anything else you would like to add? Owen, do you have anything you'd like to ask?
I think not.
Okay. Thank you. Would you like to say anything, Diego? Would you like to finish your closing statement?
Well, I would just like to rebuke one thing I said about the would I like Republicans to vote for me if I was Leonard Kim. I'm gonna change that. I was a bit confused. Yes, I would like Republicans to vote for me to encourage bipartisanship. That's my only thing I would like to add.
And why did you change that opinion from your original statement?
I feel like I rushed it too much. I put some
Right,
thought into it.
right. Well, thank you for that. So, we want to thank you here on TNN for coming on to do this interview with both me and my co-host Owen Haley. We appreciate you coming on. We hope that we can do another interview with you again in the future.
Thank you.